Hey guys, today's video is all about making wax sand. So all in this bowl is wax sand that we've made. Been sitting on top of it is a bunch of water. If you can see, it's like oil and water. They will not mix. Look at this, guys. Let's show you today how to make wax sand. Hey guys, welcome to today's video on making wax sand. You know, I came out and put this set in yesterday right ahead of about 2 inches of rain. It just stormed all last night. And I put this set out here just to show you what wax sand can do ahead of something like that. If you're going to trap in freeze thaw conditions, you've got to have something that's going to protect your trap. Two inches of rain, and we still got dry sand after this. So let's show you how we make it, guys. Okay, here's the aisle you want. It is concrete repair. And you can either get the tube sand version. What we started doing is the 50-pound bag of play sand for $4.98. Hey guys, one of the best containers I found for putting the wax sand in after you get it done and keeping it in storage, keeping it dry. Plus, if you're going to do like we're going to do and go to Kansas, this is a great way to store it for the trip. $4.48 for a bucket to hold the wax sand, and $1.88 for a lid to keep it dry. So there we go. 4 buckets, 4 lids. We're good to go. Okay guys, one of the first things we want to do is before we go in the store is pull up hobbylobby.com. You'll see there's a spot here on the blue taskbar at the top. Hit coupon. 40% off any one item. And then there's a spot here that says print coupon. Print that, and there you go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and screenshot this so that if for some reason I can't pull it up in the store as easily, I'll have it. Go ahead and save it to photos. And there we go. This little coupon does change from time to time, so you definitely need to pull it up every time you go into the store. But this will give us 40% off of one item. We're only going to buy one item, which is a big block of wax. Let's go do it. Okay, guys, so we're in the candle making section here with the wax. So if you notice, there's all kinds of different sizes and everything, but here's what we're looking for. And I'm going to try to find one that's not busted out already. Here we go. This is a 10-pound block of pure 100% paraffin. So 10-pound block, this is what we want. Again, we're going to take that 40% off coupon to it. It's already 30%, but they should give us the 40%. It'll be a really good deal. Let's go check out. Okay guys, we decided not to video the checkout procedure just so we didn't cause any problems, but we just got back from the store, back to the car. You can see this 10-pound block of wax, $16.40. That's with the 40% off coupon they gave us, so $16.40 for a 10-pound block of wax. So let's go make some wax sand. Okay guys, we're back from Hobby Lobby now, and we've got our 10-pound block of wax. I just removed the cellophane plastic off of it, so this is 100% pure paraffin, so there's no additives to it. It's not beeswax or anything like that. This is made for candle making, and it's 100% pure. That way it has no additional smells to it. That's very important. And so we got a big old Rubbermaid tote, and then the other thing that you'll need is this is just a kind of a really simple wood planer, just like you would use in shop class or something like that. I've set the blade to a depth that it's just going to barely shave some of this wax off. So we're going to convert it from this big block, and eventually we're going to have it come out really fine chips like this. Okay, that's what we're after. That's the goal, is to have it like that. Because eventually what we're going to do is we're going to take this upstairs and we're going to add this to the wax sand, or to the sand that we bought, And we can do that with a scoop, and we can do it in a very controlled environment, in a very controlled manner. We can add just the amount that we want, and it will get in there and blend in with the sand very evenly. So that's the goal. So let's show you how this, well, I tell you what, before we do this, you know, you can see it's going to take a little bit of time to whittle down this block. I like to do it when, you know, sit here and watch a little bit of TV or something like that. You might as well pull up YouTube, find your favorite things that you're looking for. One of the favorite channels that we love watching is a channel called Stags in the Wild, and we'll just click on that and we'll go through, and heck, here's a good one. Let's see. Let's go for how to trap catching cats. That'll be a good one. Actually, you know what? We're probably going to use wax more in catching canines. Let's look at dogs, and we'll watch this one while we're doing it. So turn the volume down a little bit so you can hear us on this. But we're going to watch this video, and heck, it's therapeutic. It's relaxing. Just get it going like this, and you can see. See how it flakes off and rolls up? Now watch this as I crunch it. Look at that. Okay. So, really super easy to do. And you can do this, you can whittle down this block in just a few minutes. These animals are running up and down this little pathway here. So what I'm going to do is I found a spot. You know, it might take you, you know, 30 minutes or so of watching the show. That's why it's good. Pull up your favorite show. Pull up your favorite YouTube program. Watch and learn something else about trapping as you sit here and do this. Now, as you roll this wax off, you're going to see it roll up and bundle up, and it's going to fall off, and it's going to look like it's not flaking up really well. If you pick this up, if it rolls off into those shavings like that, all you got to do, guys, is grab them, and literally they will just crumble under the slightest pressure. So you guys can see it rolling up almost like paper. That's where you can take that and just, it will turn into really small flakes. And if you're wondering about me reaching in with my bare hands and touching this wax, we're going to introduce this to the sand, like we said. This wax will melt at 140 degrees Fahrenheit. We will get that sand to about 150 degrees before we introduce the wax to it. It's all going to melt and coat that sand, and at that point there, that's when we won't touch it anymore with anything except for gloves. But right now, I'm not really worried about transferring scent or getting scent on anything. Okay guys, so let's kind of go over some of the basics, the materials list if you will. This is our setup right here. So we bring this operation indoors in the garage for a reason. You know, a couple days ago it was snowing out here. And again, the reason why we do this is we're just so busy fishing and kayaking and wakeboarding, and we got too many, we're spread too thin. We've got just as many hours in the day as everybody else. The problem is we don't take them to do this in the summertime when we should, just to be blatantly honest. So we're doing it last minute. We're leaving tomorrow morning for Kansas on a week-long coyote and cat trapping excursion. And so you can see over here we've already got five-gallon buckets made. These are full of wax sand right now already. I pounded on the lids so they cannot come undone on our journey over to Kansas. We've got 4 more that we're going to fill this afternoon. These are empty, and so here's the operation. Here's the sand that we got from Lowe's. We use this 5-gallon bucket to fill it up and use this to as kind of a measuring device. You'll see that it takes a little bit more than one of these bags to fill this. That one was half empty. By the time we fill another one here, you know, it'll take about a bag and a half. It takes roughly a bag and a half to fill a 5-gallon bucket. Maybe a little less. Well, you don't want to fill it all the way to the top. That would be more than 5 gallons. But we're going to take that and we're going to dump it into our concrete mixer. Now, I bought this from Harbor Freight. Roughly $170 or so, and I bought it with a dual purpose in mind. A couple years ago I built a mammoth deck off the side of the house, and I poured a ton of concrete piers for that. So I bought it to use for that, but knowing that I was going to keep it and use it to make wax sand with, okay? Then what I did was, I got on Amazon, and we'll give you a link in the description below. I got on Amazon and ordered an extra propane burner. I believe this is a gas 1 propane burner. And I wired it onto the bottom of this, okay? So then all I've got to do, you can see over there if you want to, if I turn this propane tank on, you can hear it come on. So that will heat up the bottom of this concrete mixer. So I'm going to take my 5 gallons of sand and I'm going to dump it in here. Okay. Now obviously if we just left that going in one spot, it would probably scorch the area of the sand right down there below. We don't want that. We don't want to burn the sand. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this on. Now I'm only going to turn this on for a second because it gets very noisy. But that's what it does. It rotates and keeps that sand moving so it doesn't scorch it in any one spot. Then what we're going to do, we're going to use the other half of our materials. This is all the wax that we spent last night shaving off and turning into flake wax. Okay, so what we're going to do is I grabbed this Ziploc bag and I punched a hole in it right here at the very top so we can weigh it on our bow scale. Now I know from experience that about 2 full scoops of this is going to be really close to 2.5 pounds. Let's close up the Ziploc bag and take it down to my bow shop and we'll throw it on the hook and get it weighed. And while we're doing that, let's go ahead and get this going so we can make sure that it's heating up the sand properly. Okay guys, we're back in the archery room here, and this is my bow scale that I use to set my draw weights with on my bows. We're going to zero it out. You can see it's zeroed out here completely. And hang it on one of the hooks here. And again, I took a hole punch and punched a little hole right here so that I can just get this bow hook through there. Now, once it settles on a weight, we'll pull it off here. We're a tad over, we're 2.88, 2.8, so a little over 2.5, but I think I might have mentioned earlier, and if I didn't, I don't mind being a little slightly heavy on the wax of that 2.5 to 5 gallon ratio, 2.5 pounds to 5 gallon ratio, because if there's anything that irks me more is going through the trouble of making a set and the weather destroying it, and that happens every 2 to 3 days in the Midwest. So if I'm a bit heavy on the wax, it doesn't bother me at all. So let's go back and take this out and get it ready to make some wax sand. Okay guys, we just stopped this rotating drum here just so you can hear it for video purposes. But if you'll see here, we spent a little bit more time inside. It can get away from you in a little bit. This is 178 degrees, so we're fine. In fact, we'll go ahead and crank off and turn off the heat here. That sand will stay hot for quite a bit. But actually it's 163, 165, so it's fine. What we're going to do now is we're going to add, remember it took 2 scoops, two good scoops, we don't want to overfill, but 2 good scoops to make that 2.5 pounds. We've got 5 gallons of sand in here. Now we do want to turn this drum back on, but let me explain what I'm doing before I do so, because it's going to get extremely loud. So I'm going to sift this wax into that sand as it's spinning. I don't want to just throw it all in there and it be one big clump. I want to take some time and barely pour it in and sift it in so it's got a chance to thoroughly mix in with everything. So let's do that real quick. You can see the sand turning from that sandy color. You can see that wax melting in with it, and it's turning darker and it's getting wetter because of the wax. I'm going to get one more repeat the process. And you can use this adjustment here to kind of get the sand to start falling upon and tumbling on itself a little bit more. Now see how rich that looks? We went from a really super dry sand, to a very moist, and it's coated with that wax. It doesn't take a long time, guys, to coat that wax. It's already melted and coated, and it's bonded to that wax. Now you can see I'm picking up my gloves. From this point on, I won't touch it with human hands. I will actually always be gloved from here on out when I work with this. So the reason we keep this bucket here is to pour in the sand into the mixer. But we're also going to use it to get the sand out. And all I do is I just pull this out. And remember, we put a 5-gallon bucket of sand in there. Then we added 2.5 pounds of wax to this. So we're going to come really close to filling this 5-gallon bucket back up. And from here on out, guys, I know it probably sounds like, you know, all this other stuff has been the important stuff, and you know, it's necessary, right? You've got to have the right ingredients, you've got to have, you know, close to the right formula, although you can tweak it somewhat. But I'm telling you from experience of having done this several times, you know, you can see we've got the five 5-gallon buckets behind us that we've already made, plus we've done this plenty of times in the past. I can tell you from experience that this next step is probably one of the most crucial steps in the whole process. And that step, once we get all this out of here, that step is taking this 5-gallon bucket and spreading it out on this tarp. Right now that sand is still really close to 160 degrees or so, right? That wax is really melted through there. We want to take this sand and spread it out into a really thin layer on this tarp and keep working it. Right now it looks like it's just super, it's awesome, right? But this sand is extremely warm. It's not going to burn you, but I can feel the heat through my gloves. And as this mixture wants to cool off, that wax that's in and bonded to that sand will want to clump up. So it is vitally important that you don't start this process until you have time to sit here and keep working the sand until it really cools off. And we'll show you as we go along here its tendency to want to clump up. What you do, guys, is it clumps, you just take it and work it between your fingers. And this is probably a good point, guys, to kind of explain to you why we use sand. You know, I have always been a big proponent, and my natural inclination was to want to make wax dirt as opposed to wax sand. In fact, I've got a good buddy of mine who traps out in Kansas. Actually, the landowner who's going to let us go and trap on his farms. And he always talked about wax sand. Way back before I got into making this a whole lot. See how it wants to clump right there, guys? We're just going to take it, and as this cools, see, you can see now as I'm breaking it apart, see how the big clumps, see those clumps right here? And I'm just going to pick it up and crush them. I'm going to break up those clumps as it wants to. You can watch it clump here. But my buddy, he'd always talk about wax sand. I'm like, why in the world would you want to make wax sand? Why would you want to make wax dirt? That was just always my mindset. And again, it goes back to us always boating and fishing and chasing catfish and just having so many other things to do. One of the things that's a prerequisite in this process is to have a dry medium, whether that be dirt or sand. Your dirt or sand has got to be dry before you start this. Trust me, I've tried to make wax sand or wax dirt with wet dirt. It just doesn't work very well. You have to get that dirt dry. Well, again, it goes back to being a necessity that you need to do that in June, July, or August when the temperatures are 95 degrees to 104 degrees, which it is in Missouri, and you don't have rain for 3 or 4 or 5 days and everything's dried out. You can put it on tarps, put it out in your yard, let it dry, sift it, turn it over, get all of that moisture out of the dirt. Again, we just don't take the time to do that very often here. See those big clumps, guys? Look at that, see all that clump? And we're just gonna take those clumps and break them up. So since we just don't take the time to dry that dirt out like we should in June, July, or August, it's just really easy to go buy a bag of extremely dry sand out of the lumber section of Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever. See those big clumps? We're just going to break them up. And we're going to spread them back out and we're going to break. This is one of the most important things, guys. You will end up with little pieces of wax. You can see from our other attempts, this is hard wax that we kind of ended up that we didn't work all the clumps out of. You won't be able to get it all. I mean, if you want to spend every second out here, you probably could. I'm okay with having a little bit of loss in the yield of what I'm doing here. And if I wanted to, I could probably take a tamper or a sledgehammer and break that up and get 100% yield out of this effort. I'm not that picky. But I do want to make sure that the bulk of this is crumbled up. Okay guys, so we're back. We've let this all cool now. Now obviously we could have probably sit here for another 5 or 10 minutes and kind of worked it in a little bit better and got more clumps out and got a better yield. But you will be able to take these big sections here if you wanted to, and you could go ahead and sift through them and get them all out. But I'm not that worried about it. So here's one of our brand new 5-gallon buckets we bought from Lowe's. This is what we're going to store it in. And at this point right here, we're going to sift into those 5-gallon buckets. Now again, you can take it and really sift. You can see I still get a pretty good yield even from this if I just take the time to work through it. What I typically do though, go ahead and throw that off. If I want to, I can give myself the option of coming back later on. Okay, so that's the process, guys. Let me show you this, because it looks like there's not a lot of wax adhering to that. It's really dry and powdery, right? So you kind of got to wonder, is the process working? I mean, is all the wax coming up in these big clumps, or is it actually sticking to this little fine sand? Well, let's show you. So I've got 2 glasses here, just went and got from the kitchen. One has some water in it, one is dry, okay? So let's just set this empty one here. Again, I told you we don't like to touch this with human hands after that process, so let's just sift some dirt or some wax sand into this cup. Again, about half full wax sand. You see it's really loose and powdery there. We're going to take the water, pour right on top of it. Now you'd think, and I will even swirl it and swish it just a little bit, that would just permeate and penetrate all the way down in there. Yeah, guys, I know this is live. There's no video cuts here. There's no edits. And I could sit here and I could sit this out here for a day, 2 days. Really wouldn't change anything. Yeah, there's gonna be a little bit come off. Once I get that water out, that's what it does for you guys. Just as good as it was. So we're gonna go back and finish filling up these 5-gallon buckets. Next time we'll see you, hopefully we'll be in Kansas. See you guys. Thanks for joining in and tagging along our adventures. We appreciate all of you guys. We'll see you on down the line.